Good evening, and welcome to the annual town meeting. I'm filling in for our clerk treasurer, who happens to be on vacation this week, skiing in Montana. So hopefully I'll do an okay job filling in for him. Tonight is an annual meeting, which is a meeting of the residents. A couple of your town board supervisors are here, but they are here as residents and to help answer any questions you may have. Our Public Works Director is also here, who could answer any questions you might have, and then myself as the Finance Officer is here. Because this is a meeting of the residents, you will vote tonight on our preliminary levy for 2024, and then also you need to pick a moderator, which is my first piece of business, is to help you pick a moderator. Bob Kermes has volunteered once again, if so willing. So with that, do I have anybody else that wants to volunteer or nominate somebody to be a moderator? We had a motion to nominate Bob. Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor of Bob moderating the meeting, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Bob, you're elected. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Tom. All right. We have a pretty straightforward process here. There are agendas in the back of the room if you didn't notice coming in. If you didn't get one, go ahead and grab an agenda. Just a couple of items, housekeeping items. To control the meeting, we'll use a modified Robert's Rules of Order process. One of the things that we would like to do as part of that is, if you do have any questions or comments during the meeting or at the end of the meeting, we ask that you identify yourself with your street address. And we also have a mobile mic here that we'd like you to use, and that'll get you on international TV or something from the back, so you'll be able to get yourself a lot of publicity. We also have, I understand, we have some hearing assistance devices. So if you have any problems hearing all of the proceedings, let Tom or me know, and we'll get those things for you too. I understand we have 4 of those, so it should be more than enough. Okay. And everybody is signed in. If you haven't signed in yet, please do that before the end of the evening. All right, the next, that's item number 3 on the agenda. So the next item is to approve the meeting agenda as submitted. Is there a motion to approve that agenda? Okay, is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have an agenda. A copy of the annual meeting minutes are included in the packet. They've also been posted from last year's meeting agenda. They've also been posted on the township's website. So assuming someone has reviewed that and is very familiar with those details, I'll ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the 2022 annual meeting. Is there a motion is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to approve the 2022 annual meeting minutes. We do have a couple of special features tonight. One, the first item here, we have some recognition awards. I understand the township has an award or awards, and we have the 2 board members here that will present that. So I'll ask Steve Ruzick and Scott if you'll come up as well. They're going to do, I need the hearing assistance aid. The sheriff's going to do all the awards?
They're also doing
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll ask the Ramsey County Sheriff to, or representative to present those awards. Do you guys need a mic? We have a mobile mic here for you. Maybe. Looks like it's even on.
Thanks for inviting us. We got a couple of Sheriff's Award of Excellence for, I don't mean to butcher names, but Daniel Cataldo and Les, is it Jobst? Jobst? Okay. Got a couple letters, one for each of you. I'm just going to read one of them, but they're the same other than each individual's name. So first off, I would like to say thank you for inviting us here to present these awards to you guys. It is my honor to inform you the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office has awarded you the Sheriff's Award of Excellence. This award is to recognize a citizen who through their interaction with the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office demonstrates an exceptional level of service to the community. The administration of the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office has recognized your diligent efforts to protect not only yourself, but also the community. On May 13th, 2022, you responded to Jean Filkin's home. The heroic actions you took to risk your own life saved her life. That day, another neighbor, both of you, Mr. Jobst and Cataldo, ran to Miss Filkin's garage after hearing her scream, followed by a loud thud. He found her sitting on the ground, up against the car, gagging. Her daughter was slumped over in the driver's seat of the vehicle. Mr. Jobst immediately called 911 to report that there were two patients in need of emergency medical aid. He advised dispatch it appeared a possible suicide, noted a strong chemical odor emitting from the vehicle and the chemicals near the vehicles along with vents taped up. After Mr. Jobst entered the garage to try to pull Miss Filkins out, he recognized the need to enlist help and yelled for help for Mr. Cataldo. You responded and once recognized the smell of a strong chemical odor, you immediately returned home to retrieve two ventilator-type masks. After you each donned a mask, you both re-entered the garage and pulled Miss Filkins to the edge of the garage door. You re-entered the garage to retrieve a 5-gallon can of liquid chemical found on the garage floor near the vehicle, placed the chemicals inside the garbage can, and secured the lid. Once first responders arrived on scene, they moved Miss Filkins further away from the home and began to administer first aid to her, and eventually her daughter. Both were transported to the hospital. Unfortunately, the daughter did not make it. Miss Filkins survived thanks to a large part of your heroic efforts to risk your own life to save her. Miss Filkin and law enforcement nominated you for this award. Ms. Filkin's nomination said, quote unquote, "I am most grateful to my neighbors, Les Drost and Daniel Cataldo, for saving my life. Knowing the full story, I would not be here without their heroic efforts. Without regard for your personal safety, you saved Ms. Filkins at the serious risk of imminent personal danger to life and went above and beyond that day. Your swift actions to quickly assess the response to the emergency was instrumental in saving the life of another person. Thank you for your service to this community." If you guys want to come up, I'll present you with the award here. Mr. Jobst, oh. There's yours. There's yours. Thank you. Thanks for what you guys do. Oh, I'll let you do. Are you talking that up?
Okay.
Thanks.
My name is it on?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Steve Rizek. I'm the vice chair for the township. This is Scott McEwen on our board also. Our chair tonight is away because his daughter-in-law decided to add to the population of Minnesota today, and he's doing granddad duty. So on behalf of the township, both Scott and I would like to present 2 township awards.
Wow. Thank you.
Recognizing your service to the township. You know, it's without people like this that make such a difference to our community. And again, you went above and beyond. Thank you both very much. There you go.
All right. Hold on.
They need to tell us their names. We couldn't hear their names.
My name is Daniel Cataldo. My name is Les Jobst.
Thank you, guys. Yes, thank you.
Well, it's always nice to hear a positive note in the system of citizen involvement in our community. I guess that's one of the reasons we enjoy living in White Bear Township. And I thank the Sheriff's Department for participating here. I believe we were supposed to have someone from the, oh, there she is. We do have County Commissioner here. Nicole, am I saying this right? Frethen? Why don't you come on up and please introduce yourself and let us know what you're up to. All good stuff, I'm sure.
Oh, you know, every day. Thank you all for coming out. This is always a fun night. It's been since 2020 was the last time I got to come to the town board meeting right before the whole world shut down. So it's great to see folks out. I'm really proud to represent the only township in Ramsey County. So thank you for all being out here and doing that. We're always busy at the county doing a lot of work right now. I will say at the end of April, I'm hoping to pull together a community conversation about community safety and crimes. So I hope you can come out to that. More information will come out. I do have a newsletter. If you go to the Ramsey County website /District 1, that's my commissioner page. I do represent all of the township. You can sign up for the newsletter there, and there's more updates. We've been really busy with this legislative session. Some of our big asks right now, Ramsey and Hennepin County don't receive any portion of motor vehicle lease taxes. Sounds really boring, but it's about $5 million a year if we were in on those taxes instead of it going to the other metro counties except for Hennepin and Ramsey. That would go a long way in towards improving our roads. I know we have a lot of road issues in Ramsey County. We have the worst pavement quality in the metro area. One of the reasons because we were built longer out, but also we don't get as much money as a lot of the other districts. So that is a problem. So we're hoping to see some good news there. Also pushing really hard for investments in county program aid, which helps us buy down our property tax levy to prevent any jumps or to reduce those impacts as we move forward. Like every household is dealing with inflation, governments are as well. There's gas for our snow plows, for our deputy vehicles, for parks and recreation activities. So all that adds up on our end too, and we do everything we can to keep things low. We have once again gotten top bond ratings from both Moody's and Standard & Poor's, the AAA bond rating, something we've maintained for, I think, the longest streak in the state in terms of counties. So we're really proud of that. And some of the things I'm working on right now is investments in early childhood education. I'll be testifying tomorrow in the Senate for Great Start for Early Childhood, which would help create affordable childcare for all families in Minnesota. Also working on, through part of my position on the Ramsey County Law Library Board, for a better funding model for Ramsey County Law Libraries or for county law libraries across the state to ensure folks have access to legal information, especially when they don't have a lawyer or can't afford a lawyer. happy to answer any other questions or turn it back for you guys to get on with your important business.
What about legacy funds to help seniors and that, to deal with ash borer?
Legacy funds to help with emerald ash borer?
For seniors and
Yeah.
disabled?
I have not heard of that.
Well, getting it.
Yeah, it would be a question of, so the legacy funds are distributed by a committee at the state level. So it would be a request to them, and they would have to determine whether it fits in.
Someone should look into
No, that's a great idea. I'll throw that back to our environmental team.
We got that big old surplus.
Yes, there's a big old surplus.
Right, for me right now, you're taking for me right now on Stillwater Street, they've already taken down 60 trees with ash borer behind me, and they're not even done yet. And I know my trees got sick from that.
Yeah, emerald ash borer is a huge problem. A lot of what we've been dealing on the county end is what do you do with that wood waste? Right now, so the
Well, you can grind it up and use it as, kill weeds. Sawdust kills weeds.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of uses for it. Right now we have so much wood waste that it's unmanageable in terms of even grinding it up. A lot of it's getting burned for energy, but some of the changes would not allow us to do that anymore.
DNR says keep it covered for a year, then you can burn it.
Kevin Hallbach, 2654 Suzanne Circle. Years ago, there was a proposal or agreement between Hennepin County and Ramsey County to build a youth center for juveniles who'd gotten into trouble.
Yep.
And what is the status? I think at one point Hennepin backed out of that agreement, and
Yeah.
is that going forward? Is that being pushed, or what are the plans in support of the sheriff and others who did support such a construction?
So in terms of youth justice, and Commissioner Moran's been testifying for this at the legislature, we're looking for smaller, secure settings for youth to be when they need to be detained and in a secured facility, where a lot of the time the reason for that is they need treatment of some kind. So smaller treatment facilities are better able to deal with them. The problem with a larger facility is that the costs to run it are often more expensive than those smaller facilities, and the outcomes aren't as good. So you don't want to pay more for a worse product. So we're really hoping that we'll get some of that funding for secure facilities. We're also looking at the current juvenile detention centers in really rough shape. So we're looking at options to sort of expand it and offer some more of those treatment facilities in-house. Yeah, I'm really excited. We've got a lot of youth justice work, and I'll be in DC in a week and a half, talking to some of nation's experts on how do we address juvenile crime. There's a lot of things that aren't working now. Yeah.
Well, the thing is there are a lot of juveniles getting misdiagnosed.
Yeah.
My grandson was just misdiagnosed. And, Colleen Pay at 2082 Stillwater Street. I worked in human services for over 20 years. And yes, the facilities they want them smaller. But we all know our social work division is very overworked, or human services.
Yep.
Very overworked by the number of clients. We also know a number of clients get put in jail versus the mental health system. So many are broke, but there's a lot of good facilities out there now. A lot of them tend to be in Minneapolis.
Right now, the struggles we're having is a lot. There aren't enough placements for youth, especially youth with co-occurring just disorders. In adults as well, one of the major issues we see is in our adult detention center with folks who aren't competent to stand trial, but they aren't able to move to a mental health facility because we don't have enough mental health facilities, so they just sort of languish in the jails, and jails become the sort of de facto mental health institution, which isn't good for anyone, and it's way more expensive for all of us. So smaller facilities, and I think you're right, the institutions and how do we have people to actually work these jobs. In Ramsey County, some of the things that we're doing is we've put in some workforce programs with our ARPA dollars to expand capacity, especially in public health areas, to try to get people trained who can work in facilities and to do the work that we're missing in the field. We actually just got recognized by the president for that a couple weeks ago at a speech for the National Association for Counties. All of those fields in which you are experiencing secondary trauma, and having worked in human services myself in early childhood, and especially working with youth who have significant emotional disturbances, and I think you're right, the terms of diagnosis, being able to seek mental health treatment. We have a lack of practitioners right now. I serve on the board for Northeast Youth and Family Services, and we have been struggling to get enough practitioners in to serve. We have a client waiting list of 500 people, but early intervention is part of that as well. I'm also on the board of Community Action Partnership of Ramsey and Washington County, so providing all of our Head Start services. We have hundreds of kids on our waiting list. We don't have teachers. We could, if we found 30 teachers tomorrow, we could open probably 15 classrooms and be serving another 150, 300 kids. But there just aren't enough people who want to work those jobs. Part of it is because the burnout is so real. So how do we manage people's work-life balance, ensure we're paying wages that allow, and giving benefits that give people time off? These are all big questions that government and the private sector are grappling with right now.
Send them to my woods.
Right.
But thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, now we get to the meat of the meeting tonight. I just one little factoid to follow on to some of the commissioner's comments. You referred to the township as the only township in Ramsey County, the biggest township in Ramsey County. Just one additional factoid. It comes up rarely, but in the entire state, the White Bear Township has a greater population as a community than 90% of the cities in the state of Minnesota. So that's just something to keep in mind if you ever have an opportunity to talk to your representatives or legislators. This is a sizable community, and I think we've done a good job of running and managing the place. So anyway, we'll get on to the primary business at hand, and that's the 2024 Preliminary Tax Levy. And Tom Kelly will walk us through that. Tom, it's all yours.
All right, thank you, Bob. This is a serious meeting, so I don't have a joke. I saved those for the budget meeting, so you'll have to come back in December and painfully live through the joke. I always start off these presentations. The township does get 3 awards for our different financial reports from the Government Finance Officers Association. It's a national organization, and the one up on the top in the dark gray is for our annual financial report or our audit report. We've received that award for 28 years. The one on the bottom is for our budget document, and we've received that one for 22 years. And then the one in the white on the other top corner there is for our what is called a popular report, or it's the little insert that we kind of do in the fall summarizing our audit report. Our audit report is yay thick, 100 and some pages. The popular report's only 4 pages long. It kind of condenses all that information in a easy to read format, and we've received that award for 8 years. And we're only one of 10 governments in Minnesota to receive all three of the awards. So we're kind of an exclusive company there. Tonight, we are presenting the 2024 preliminary levy. We just started 2023 and we're already talking 2024. Again, this is our worst case scenario. Whatever is approved tonight, as we go through our budget process later in the year, we can lower the levy, but we can't exceed whatever is adopted tonight by you, the residents. We did use conservative revenue estimates and then kind of our worst thoughts on expenditures to come up with the preliminary levy. And as I said, we can lower it, but we cannot exceed it. The 2024 budget and final property tax levy will be presented at the town's budget meeting. It is scheduled for December 5th at 7 o'clock here in this building, and attend that. And again, the residents do vote on the levy, and then they make a recommendation to the board for the budget. In the past, we've always been able to lower the levy between now and that December meeting. This chart just kind of shows you the red bar is the preliminary levies that we've had since 2012 through 2022, and you can see the red bar, the proposed, is always higher than what the yellow, which is our final levy. The levy tonight, right now as it stands, is proposed at $5,901,288. That is a 2.17% increase over the 2023 preliminary levy, but it is also a 8.96% from last year's final budget. So in the past, we've had preliminary levies from one preliminary levy to the other, more in that 8 to 9% range. This year, we've got it down to just over 2%. It's based on the 2023 budget and then actual 2021 and 2022 amounts. And then, of course, as was mentioned earlier, there's a little thing called inflation going on right now, so we've plugged in some inflationary increases. The following exceptions were made to the budget. 2024, our rental and animal licenses will be renewed. That adds about $21,000 in revenue to the township that we don't get in the odd years, so we've plugged that number in. We've left our state and county aids at the 2023 amounts, and likewise we left our fiscal disparities, which is a revenue sharing property tax on commercial properties in the metro area. We've left that at our 2023 amount, which is $421,687. That was a 4.4% increase over what we received in 2022, but that is the 2023 amount. And we should see an increase in 2024 in our fiscal disparities. Expenditures, right now we have a 4% increase plugged in for our wages. Our union contract expires at the end of this year. And so later on this year, we'll be negotiating with our union employees for raises. The last 3 years, we've seen 3.25% increases, so we plugged in 4%, hoping that that would be high. We did increase the budget for summer help for both street maintenance and park maintenance. The last few years, it's been hard to find employees in those areas, so we're plugged in more money so we can offer higher wages, which might attract more employees, and or we can hire more employees if we get those applications. Our health insurance, it's way too early to know what type of increase we're going to receive in health insurance. That doesn't come out until usually late fall. So we've plugged 18%, which is generally on the high end. We've been seeing right around anywhere from 7 to 4% increases on our health insurance. So plugging 18% gives us a little wiggle room, to say the least. Overall, those three changes would increase our personnel services just over $118,000, or just over 7% from our 2023 budget. Our park improvements, we're estimating those at $350,000, and that's based on our current 10-year CIP, our capital improvement plan. The capital improvement plan will be developed alongside of our 2024 budget.
You don't have ones that you're designated at this point as far as improvement?
We haven't, with our 10-year capital improvement plan, the one that was adopted in the fall has 2023 improvements included in the 2023 budget. The improvements and the equipment purchases that are in 2024 through 2032 are there as a placeholder. They can get moved around. Amounts might change due to inflation and so forth. So they're there. But the $350,000 that I'm mentioning for the park improvements, that is the amount that we would need based on what was there for 2024 in that plan. But again, those amounts aren't set in stone and can get moved, and things can get added.
What kind of improvements are you talking about?
The type of improvements for parks are mainly, there's some parking lot improvements, playground replacement, ADA requirements. The last few years, we've done some improvements to the beach on the south end of town. Tennis court replacements. Those are kind of the big ones we've done. And that's just in the parks. Then, we have our road improvements. We had a 10-year road improvement plan done 3-4 years ago. So we're about on to year 4 of that. So that's in there. We have some utility improvements for the water system, the sewer system, et cetera. And then there's all kinds of different equipment replacements and stuff that is needed at Public Works on an annual basis, and so those are all in the plan.
Where's the tennis court? They tore down the one that was by Central School. I thought they were gonna put that back.
Yeah, that I don't know if the school district's gonna put that back. Dale, refresh my memory, where do we have tennis courts? Four Season, Eagle Park, Bel Air, or is that Columbia? That's.
Just a reminder, this is being recorded for the record, so if you identify yourself with your address, we need that for the meeting minutes. Put together.
There it is, 40,000.
Okay, so moving on. Our equipment rental fee, last year, we finally got caught up and budgeted 100% of the depreciation. For this preliminary budget, I have 105% of the depreciation of the equipment. That's so that we can put money aside, so we have the money when the equipment needs to be replaced. The 105% gives us some cushion for inflation and stuff on the equipment. 2023 was the first year that we fully funded the equipment rental at 100%. The sheriff's contract and our fire contract with the sheriff and the city of White Bear Lake, both those budgets I've increased 12%. The sheriff's contract, usually we see around anywhere between a 3 to 5% increase. The fire contract, lately, we've been seeing anywhere between an 8 and a 12% increase. So I'm thinking between the two of them, the 12% should give us plenty of room for when it comes to the final budget. The budget includes $55,200 for sign replacement for the new reflectivity standards that we've been working towards the last few years. And then, as we've mentioned before, there's a problem with emerald ash borer, and so we have budgeted $40,000 for removing trees with emerald ash borer in the township.
You're working on your property behind me.
Are they going to remove the tree stumps? Anybody know?
Dale? They're not going to remove the trees?
Well, they're not cutting them off flush to the ground. And because I was wondering if you're going to plant new trees.
Will they eventually come back and get new trees, or?
Well, the train is really, really loud. And what about the school activities that are going to occur? I mean, 60 trees are gone now, and there's going to be more gone. We shouldn't have to have that noise.
Lonnie Kay at 5955 Otter Lake Road. I just had 17 trees taken down in my yard, and they left the tree stumps. And does this ash borer travel through the root system? Strictly through the bark?
It's air through the
And
beetles.
the air. Okay.
Yeah, because there's going to be in the bark to the stumps of the trees.
Well, where do they take those trees?
Yeah. They get rid of them within the county, burn them, whatever they can do with them. As Nicole said, they've got more trees than they know what to do with.
And then they're cutting them off flush.
Well, on my lake shore, I have two trees. Is that going to be my responsibility, or will you all take those down because they're on the easement? Hopefully. I mean, I've already paid for 17. I don't need another 2.
Yeah, if they're on the easement, we generally share in the cost. If they're on your property, it's generally at your cost.
Well, that's not right since they got infected in your property.
Also in 2024, as I said, we've been doing street projects. To fund those street projects, we've issued bonds. Those bondholders like to get their money back. So the 2024 preliminary budget does have a debt levy of $513,080. The good news is that's only a $5,853 increase over the 2023 amount, which is a 1.15% increase, and that includes the 2019, 20, and 21A bonds that we've issued for the road construction projects. We are going to do a 2023 project here. I'm hoping that we're not going to have to issue bonds for that because interest rates have increased. We did ask our fiscal consultants if we were to issue bonds for that, what kind of interest rate we would get. When we issued the 2021 bond, we got just under 1%. If we were to issue that same bond today, we'd be paying around 4%, which, quite frankly, is kind of a normal interest rate, but when you're used to paying less than 1% the last few years, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow. And the town, that levy is based on the bond repayment schedule, and the township does receive a AA plus from Standards and Poor, and that is one step below the highest bond rating possible for the town. So when you look at this, as I said, the proposed preliminary levy is $5,901,288, and this chart compares it to the 2023 preliminary levy, and you can see all the different parts, but the 2023 preliminary levy was $5,776,108 compared to the $5,901,288. So if the town's tax capacity would remain the same, although the last few years it's been increasing by double digits, percentage-wise, if it stayed at the $19,183,150 that it currently is at, the town's tax rate would increase to 28.565 compared to our 2023 rate of 26.036, which that means if your home did not change in value, you would see a township property tax increase of between $4.50 to $10 per month on homes valued between $200,000 and $400,000 in the township. Again, this is our worst case scenario, and we can lower the levy during our budget process, but we cannot exceed whatever is approved tonight. And so with that, I am proposing a 2024 preliminary property tax levy of $5,901,288. And with that, I will take any questions?
Any questions for Tom? Just a detail. I'll ask a question. The market value and the
Tax capacities?
tax capacity numbers, those are determined by,
Those are determined by Ramsey County based off of the county assessor. You'll be getting your 2024 home value notice here in the mail. I think you get it in about April or May, and there's a whole appeal process for that. But that number that the county assessor has in that notice, if you don't appeal it, that is what will be used to calculate your 2024 property taxes.
okay. Any questions, comments? If not, then,
Tilma, 4294 Oakmead Lane. Looking at my tax statement, this tax capacity is going to stay the same because every year I get an increase in the assessed value of my property every year.
Yeah, the last few years it has been increasing. There's always a delay in those sort of things. So, I mean, if you recall back in 2008, when the mortgage crisis hit, everybody's value went way down, starting in about 2028, even though that actually started in 2026 or 2006 and 2007. It really didn't hit the market values. You didn't see the decrease until about 2008. Then once we came out of that, and home values have been, I hate to say it, but skyrocketing. The county assessor, like last year, I think the average increase to township residents' values was the average, which means half of them were above this, was about 15%. What it'll do this next year, I'm expecting with interest rates increasing, the increases won't be as significant as they were last year, but they still might be playing a little bit of catch up. So I'm still expecting to see some type of increase in the values.
Well, if we have an increase in capacity, then would the tax rate decrease?
Yes. Yes. If the tax rate is a factor of our tax levy and then our overall, the entire township's tax capacity. So if everybody's market value goes up, our tax capacity will increase, which when applied against the tax levy would bring that tax rate down. But of course, your home is valued higher, so even though the rate might be lower, you may end up still paying more because your value is higher.
Lonnie K. at 5955 Otter Lake Road. The tax assessor never comes to my house, and I haven't taken out any, what do you call them?
Improvements or any?
Improvements, yeah. I got a new roof, but now I've lost those 17 trees, and I mean, how does he know what's going on in my house?
They have to go around, and again, the tax assessor, I don't want to speak for him because I'm not fully into the tax assessing business, but they have to come around every, I want to say 3 years, but they don't have to necessarily do your home. They have to do similar homes. And then, of course, they look at sales in the area and what those homes are selling for and so forth to come up with the value. So, I mean, they could explain all what they put into everything. Obviously, if you do an addition or some type of major home improvement, they're going to look at those permits and say, hey, you did a $50,000 improvement to your home, and factor that into the value. But again, I don't do that end of it, and I don't know how they come up with all their.
I think once they do this County Road J thing, my valuation is gonna go down. They put that roundabout in, when you come off that street, down Otter Lake Road so fast. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can only speak from my experience. I'm not an expert at all, but you do have the right to go to the county and protest or argue with them their assessment of your home. Matter of fact, I did that about 20 years ago, and they did drop the market value of the home. So, but your recourse is, in that case, is direct to the county.
Look at your tax statement. It tells you where to go, when to go.
Yeah, like I said, you'll get a notice here in the next couple of months, and it explains the entire appeal process and how to have the assessor come out and all that sort of thing. But in Ramsey County, it's the county assessor.
And just to reinforce that, Kevin Hallbach, 2654 Suzanne. 5 years ago, I thought the estimate was wrong. That's something. Mm-hmm. And the process is very clean, very supportive. And if you feel it's wrong, the county responds and is very helpful.
I think the biggest problem is the value notice goes out in the spring, and people don't associate that with how much taxes they're going to pay. And because, quite frankly, when we do the budget meeting in December, it seems like the majority of our complaints or questions are based on the value of the home and not the levy that we're presenting. And at that point, it's too late to do anything about their value. And so there's kind of still a disconnect between people's value that they get that notice in the spring and then the notices on their actual taxes that they'll get in the fall.
Thank you. Matt Ginter, 2551 South Shore Boulevard. Thank you, Tom. I have a question. I'm looking at this chart that shows the preliminary levy against the actual, which is really helpful. I guess my question is, on the one hand, it's a 2% increase, preliminary to preliminary. But if I take this year's preliminary to 2023 actual, it's a big number, right? But I understand why you have to do the two things. So my question is, what would it take for you to come back in December and say, even though we've underspent the preliminary this year, maybe we have to go right up to that amount? Is there something exceptional that would require that? It doesn't seem to happen in recent history, but at the same time, if we vote yes, we're giving you the okay to use this as a preliminary, or do you just use a contingency in your budgeting to create that cushion?
Mainly a contingency because of the outside organizations that control our budget. I mean, the Ramsey County Sheriff, the police, or the fire department, those are our two biggest expenditure areas. And then with Public Works, you never kind of really know if you got enough for snow plowing or not, and so forth. So there's enough. Generally, we try to build in enough cushion in the preliminary where if we needed to, we can move dollars around to the different areas to get us covered and yet still lower it.
Okay. That's really helpful. Thanks.
And the other thing that has really helped with that is having the 10-year capital improvement plan and our equipment rental. Now that we've finally got that up to snuff and we're paying that at 100%, we're going to have the money to replace the equipment, and so we won't be seeing those big, huge fluctuations when we got to buy a big, large dump truck for $500,000. We've already got that money in the bank and can pay for it. We can't get the truck anymore because it seems like they're all on back order, but we at least have the money in the bank.
So if I hear you right, we should interpret this as general uncertainty, just to have everything,
Yes.
as opposed to some programs out there.
Unless the state or the county does something to us that we just didn't anticipate, where we got to pay something outrageous, it should be fine.
Hi, I'm Mark Miller, 1229 Birch Pond Trail. Quick question following that one. When I think of something that might skew this is something we're seeing every day right now is this rapid deterioration of the roads from this extended winter. Is that the type of thing where there is going to be such a magnanimous response by the township to bring the roads back up to a standard, one of those things that could cause bumping against those upper levels?
Well, it really depends. If we have to come in and do a complete reconstruction or an mill and overlay, because of inflation, the asphalt's gotten pretty expensive and so forth. The only way we have to pay for that is to issue bonds and then pay the bond over. We've been doing them over 10-year period, and so eventually, in 2023, if we were to have to issue bonds, our first, depending on when we issued that bond, our first big bond payment wouldn't be until 2025. So it'll have a little bit of a drag time behind it. But if we're talking where we have to do a lot of patching that we didn't anticipate. What we'll try to do is say, okay, we're going to overspend our patching budget. Let's underspend this other budget by that amount and try to keep, obviously we can't come back and increase our levy, so we're kind of stuck with what we have. We could always use reserves to pay for that, but right now our reserves are sitting at about 45% of our next year's operating budget. The state likes us to have about 45 to 50% because we don't get our tax money until July and December. So we need about that December tax payment, we need to basically operate on that for the next 6 months.
What is happening with Otter Lake Road between 96 and 4th Street? It's one pothole after another. And the rest of Otter Lake Road is a beautiful road.
Yeah,
It hasn't been done in years.
I think Dale wants to answer that one. You want to give him the mic? It is a county road, so the county road has to.
It is a Ramsey County road, and there is some discussion the city will be taking over that portion of the city of White Bear Lake when they rehab the existing roadway. And I can't say when it's for sure in their transportation improvement plan.
Yeah, I'm sure Ramsey County will be out sometime to patch it, hopefully sooner, because I've driven on that too and thought I was going to lose my car. But yeah, all the roads are just getting beaten up this spring. Yeah, yeah,
So when you issue new bonds, do you have one underwriter that takes the whole issue at once?
It depends. Last year, or in 2021, when we issued the bonds, I want to say we had 10 or 12 underwriters that bid on that bond. And the one that came in with the lowest bid was actually, I want to say again, they were a dozen underwriters that went kind of together and issued a proposal.
I found this on the web.
Time to stand.
Could, Kevin Halbach again, could I suggest, because of the nature of the questions so much with the street and things, that we have the similar report with the 5-year plan available for next year's meeting?
Sure.
Because that always comes up, and it goes into detail that doesn't make sense unless you see the long-range plan, then it makes sense.
Sure, we can have, in fact, Larry just came in, our town engineer that put that plan together. So we can definitely have, Larry would love to do a presentation at this meeting next year.
Not sure Larry would.
Yeah, we did one last year. So we can keep you updated on it. Well, I can tell jokes, but his might be funny. Mine aren't.
Larry just came in, so I'm sure he'd be happy to stick around for a while tonight. So if you have any detailed questions on that plan.
Clean pay at 2082 Stillwater Street. How much do we get off of speeding tickets? Anything?
Well, yes and no. We get about $15,000 a year.
Well, Stillwater Street is a drag.
Yeah.
Multiple Avenue to Division. It's getting worse with the school.
Yeah.
And what do you guys, Ramsey County, what are they, they're never around.
between early morning and then starting about 2 o'clock in the afternoon to about 3:15.
Yeah, we can suggest to them to,
I mean, they should put a speed limit sign in the middle of the street. There's one at each end.
yeah,
But not, or put one of those remote things. They keep putting them down by the cemetery.
It's too bad the commissioner had to leave.
Yeah.
She would be interested in hearing that kind of
You
comment.
know, I mean,
yeah, we can suggest to them to do more patrol on those streets during those hours. But,
same with Bald Eagle.
yeah,
It's a drag strip.
yeah. And quite frankly, our fine revenue hasn't changed much from year to year. It's usually right around that 15,000.
If people were not given warnings, given tickets automatically.
Yeah, well, and they do now. We do have the administrative fines versus a full-fledged ticket. But again, we don't get a ton of revenue off of
How
that.
long the signs have been around Bald Eagle Lake?
Yeah.
The speed limit cookies.
Well, that's something we can bring up with the
Yep,
commissioner.
yep, we can bring it up.
Okay. Anything else?
Never heard of it.
So Tom, I see Tuesday, December 5th is the final meeting. Do we get any inclination between now and then, other than what we get in the mail, about what the final proposed levy will be? Or do we, because you provide a lot of really good detail at that meeting, which is great, but it's kind of hard to react to because you just walk in the room and you see it. Is there anything we could see in advance?
Yeah, and, we do have to have the notice that you get in November, which shows you your taxes. That's based on a preliminary levy that the town board approves before the end of September. So we have more preliminary numbers that we could put out on our website. I don't know if we might have time to get it into like an insert in our utility bills. It just depends on what else we have going on at the time, on if we have room for an insert in the utility bill. But for sure, we could put it on our website where we're leading, because like I say, by law, we have to have the preliminary levy sent to the county. They call it certifying the levy by the end of September. And so the board generally approves that our preliminary levy at their second meeting in September. So we could put something out, in September or the beginning of October. It wouldn't necessarily be the final levy, but it would probably be a little bit closer because there is some decrease.
In the spirit of no surprises.
Yep.
Are you allowed to use the email list from like Public Works or anything else to email that?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, those notices are kind of set up by what you pick. And so I'm not sure how we could do that. I mean, if you signed up for, I think there's a notice on there for getting like town board agendas and meeting notices. We could maybe do something with that, but or maybe there's a way to create a separate one. I guess I'm not website savvy that way as far as setting all that stuff up.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we have a proposal on the floor from the town finance officer to accept the preliminary property tax levy at $5,901,288 for 2024. So is there a motion to approve that proposal? Motion's been made?
Isn't there an option
If there's a,
Motion to approve $5.9 million as the proposed amount. The health insurance, which I think is overdone, should be reduced by $1,200. Make a motion, 5.9.
yeah, it's allowed. So I'm going to ask our parliamentarian, the town attorney is here. What's the best way to go about that? Do we call for a motion and a second, then call for an amendment? What would you prefer to see, Tom?
Well,
Hearing no
see
second, I
see if
withdraw
there's
the
a second and then put it to the vote. I mean, if,
Okay, there is a motion, or there is no motion.
there is a
So what, you're making a motion to accept,
If there's no second, I withdraw the motion.
okay. Motion's been made and seconded to approve a $5.9 million preliminary levy and direct the town finance officer to reduce the
yeah.
health insurance estimate by $1,288. Is that clear? Semi-clear? All right, motion's been made and seconded. If there's no other comments, questions, I'll call the question. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, and then we got a couple other items to take care of.
Steal my handout. Oh, so I can write that down.
Okay, next item is to announce the location, date, and time of the December 5th budget meeting. And that is proposed right now to be held here in Heritage Hall, Tuesday, December 5th at 7 p.m. And if there's a bad weather or other extenuating circumstance that doesn't allow us to use that time and date, we'll use a fallback of the budget meeting on December 7th at 7 p.m. at Heritage Hall. And then finally, we asked the parliamentarian, we don't need a motion on that, do we? No, it's already. Okay. And then finally, item 10 on the agenda is to set the time and location for the next annual meeting in 2024. Likewise, that would be held in Heritage Hall here at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m., March 12th, or at Otter Lake, if this location doesn't work, Otter Lake Elementary School at 7 o'clock. Otter Lake School is at 1401 County Road H2. Last item on the agenda is other business. Yeah. So we're just providing the notice tonight, or the reminder, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Okay. So any other business? If not, I'll call for, one more piece of business?
Is Larry Poplar here? Is that, or the town engineer?
Yes.
Can you talk about the County Road J interchange, please?
I'm not the best one to speak to that. Dale's been in the meeting.
I can speak to that. So they've had a lot of meetings in the past year to consider alternatives. They had 7 or 8 alternatives to start with. Yep, and now they're down to 2 they're planning on submitting, and they will have a public meeting coming up here in April is the intent. So for funding application they want to send in, but they're gonna meet with the residents before they do that submittal, is what I understand.
Will we be getting a postcard?
They're supposed to be notifying the affected residents, yes. You should get some kind of notice.
Is that because that intersection is getting too busy,
remember the name of the company.
No, this isn't related to the development. This has been in Ramsey County discussion for, let's see, 3 or 4 years now. And they've been into, now they're finally into the final design alternatives. And that's proposed start date. I'm not sure, based on some of the approval process they have, that will happen. The county could speak better to that. So,
Are they gonna go ahead with the bike trail?
in that area, they will. That's part of the alternatives. Yes, to have those in there, pedestrian and bike. At this time, I do not know. Those meetings. They're great questions for you to have at that meeting that they will have for the public. Yes.
Do you think it will be a roundabout?
I would leave that to the Ramsey County answer that. Well, I don't want to speak for Ramsey County.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? We are adjourned.